what do you get when you cross the oldest cars in the system with the newest station in the system? You get the Q train on the 2nd Avenue subway at 96th Street, which is currently the end of the line. This is infrared, and we're riding the 2nd Avenue subway so that you don't have to. That escalator has a lot of snap, crackle, and pop in it for something that was only placed in service a few years ago. So this is the mezzanine level of the 96th Street station, the end of the line, the northern terminal for the Q train. The 2nd Avenue subway was open, I don't even remember anymore, 5 or 6 years ago. And with new stations on 2nd Avenue at 72nd, 86th and 96th Street, where we are right now. Supposedly the MTA capital program is funded and funding's approved to extend the 2nd Avenue subway through East Harlem to 125th Street, where it will connect with the Metro North Harlem 125th Street station and maybe even the 4, 5, and 6 at 125th Street. So, just when we thought we were going to emerge from the subway and enter sunlight, we do emerge from the subway, only to be surrounded above by sidewalk shed. So, it's Tuesday, March 22nd, 2022, 3/22/2022. It's a Tuesday. It's overcast, but a pleasant upper 50s. We are at 96th Street and 2nd Avenue. So we are going to walk almost the entire length of 96th Street. Looking down here, 96th Street ends at the elevated FDR Drive, and you can get on the FDR Drive in either direction from here. And we're not going to walk down there, those last 2 blocks, but we're going to start at 2nd Avenue, 96th Street, at the current end of the 2nd Avenue subway Q train. Here we are looking south of 2nd Avenue. We are looking north. But before we leave this intersection, we got Metropolitan Hospital, which is a unit of the city's public hospital system, New York City Health and Hospitals. And even though there's some new buildings here, and I think the facade has received improvement over the last few years, 30 or more years ago, the Metropolitan Hospital was used as the exterior of a hospital in some episodes of Seinfeld, I think including, or hopefully especially, the Briss. So we're now walking west on 96th Street, starting from 2nd Avenue. Across the street, we have this high-rise residential building, and there is a sidewalk shed along the entire length of this block, because this building complex takes up the entire length of this block. That may be one of the longest sidewalk sheds I've seen recently. Avenue, looking north and south. There's a 96th Street crosstown bus, the M96. We began our walk pretty much at the beginning of that bus route. So let's see how far we can get before the bus catches up with us. I see one a little ways ahead, so one might have left the terminal about 3 minutes ago. So I would expect another one here in the next 7 minutes. Now, here's 96th Street Station on the number 6 local. The Lexington Avenue local. We're at the corner of Lexington and 96. This stop on the number 6 was probably built around 1915. We have red light, so let's just cross here. look at this park. Playground. Samuel Seabury Playground. Restrooms open till 4 p.m. It is 4:44 p.m. now. Restrooms closed. Okay, now continuing our walk west on the south side of 96th Street. We're approaching Park Avenue and 96th. Park Avenue with 432 Park Avenue in the distance. We're going to veer off 96th Street for just a bit. This is a recently constructed park area. I don't think there was anything here previously except concrete, maybe. So we're heading north in the middle of Park Avenue between 96 and 97. And there is this very nice small park area here with benches. And if you do want to sit and watch Metro North trains at rush hour, this would be a perfect place to do it, because north of 97th Street is where the 4 tracks of Metro North that lead from Grand Central or to Grand Central surface. And there's one surfacing now. This is a train from Poughkeepsie. Well, there's another one coming southbound. I can see the headlights up ahead. Certain times of the day, I don't know if very recently, because the pandemic may have caused Metro North to reduce the number of trains it operates in the evening rush hour. But if you stand here in the evening rush hour, you're going to see, you may see close to a train a minute. Here's a train heading towards Grand Central. And there's another one right behind it that's just leaving 125th Street. So we'll just wait. Make sure this enters the tunnel safely and be on our way. All right. We will go back to 96th Street now. As soon as we can cross. Actually, let's walk back through the park since it is so new. This business across the street speaks for itself. Well, what are they? What is it a showroom of? Lighting fixtures? And there's the crosstown bus that's caught up with us. So if that was Park Avenue, the next street should be Madison. So the bus caught up to us. We started 2nd Avenue and we went to Madison Avenue. Now that bus can't go through the park at 96. It's going to have to turn right on Madison Avenue here and go down 97th where we just were. There, north on Madison, and down there north on Madison primarily is the backside of Mount Sinai Hospital Medical Center complex, and up here, which we're not going to visit today, there's an old armory that's been turned into, or at least part of it's been turned into a playground. So if you happen to be up on the Upper East Side and one child is taking piano lessons and the other wants a place to play, or you can go to Central Park, which is a little bigger and just as close. I never knew this was here. Well, this is cute with the shutters. They look like they almost might be original. And this is a landmark, 7 East 96th Street. We'll just look at that for future reference. And even on the Upper East Side, even in one of the cleanest districts and certainly one of the highest income, and we may be walking through like one of the highest income census tracts in the city, certainly, and maybe even in the country. Here we're crossing Fifth Avenue. And looking north on Fifth Avenue. We are now pointing south, and we have a choice because we're at Central Park, we're at Fifth Avenue and 96th Street, and Central Park goes all the way west to Central Park West, which is the equivalent of 8th Avenue. We don't know this intersection very well, so we're going to wait for the walk. Let's not take any chances. Okay. So, we have to walk west through the park. About a half mile. And we have a choice of walking on a sidewalk alongside the vehicles using the 96th Street transverse, but I think it will be nicer if we just walk through the park, above the traffic, above it all, if you will. Okay. Here we have one of what I think will be many banners put up by the Central Park Conservancy, which is a not-for-profit that receives most of its funding from private donations, but some of it from the New York City Parks Department. And the city has an agreement with the Conservancy that the Conservancy operates the maintenance of the park and manages the capital program. So everything about Central Park has been improved so much since I first experienced it 50 years ago. The entire park, as I recall 50 years ago, looked like that, like a dust bowl. Over here we have, besides the Park Drive North, which is closed to traffic now, but we have two levels above that. We have the equestrian path just above the road, and then above that, with the wrought iron fencing in the background, is the Jackie Onassis Reservoir path. The Central Park Reservoir is behind that iron gate. It was a reservoir when fresh water was first brought to New York for the first time in 1842. There's a reservoir up here, which we'll see if we can just get up there. Meanwhile, we're walking. I know I've been changing direction. It's kind of disorienting. But we're basically walking south now on the Park Drive East. So this would be a good time to just show you. If you're on either this Park Drive or the Park Drive West, every lamppost has a letter, E or W, east or west, and a 4-digit number. The first 2 digits, in this case 96, tells you the nearest cross street. So if you're ever in the park and you're wondering where you are, look for one of those lampposts and you'll know approximately where you are. Here, coming up, is E9503. It's a very complicated system, I know, but you'll learn it. And then I read just in the last 2 weeks that Central Park has expanded this location system to other lampposts in the interior of the park. I read about it. I read examples of it, but I haven't seen it in practice yet. So this is officially the bridle path, but it's used by a lot of non-equines as well. So obviously this is not the most direct route to get from east to west at approximately 96th Street, but I think it's the more interesting way to go. So we're here. Let's get a look through the reservoir and the skyline on the other side of the reservoir. And just let's see if we can see across the reservoir to two small buildings, which I think we'll pass soon. We'll talk more about those buildings in a minute. And you can see in the distance that automobiles heading west on the 96th Street transverse are descending into a tunnel under the Park Drive. A short tunnel, but a tunnel nonetheless. Actually, maybe it's just an overpass. Here, another view across the river. Show the ultra-high residential towers of Billionaire's Row. Okay, so we're going to leave the reservoir path now, but just a couple things to point out. Some of you may recognize the reservoir from the wonderful 1975 or 76 film Marathon Man, and those buildings I had pointed out earlier were functioning as gatehouses. They controlled the flow of the water, could be into the reservoir and could also have been into the local distribution pipes that serve the homes in this area. It looks like there's no escape from here. I hope we can get out. Anyway, the reservoir was decommissioned about 20 years ago. It's just there for decoration. It's not part of the city's drinking water system anymore. And the reservoir was a different shape and in a different location. It's where the great lawn in Central Park is now. And it was not the final resting place for the water in any event. The water, some of the water would travel further to what is now Bryant Park. And there was a reservoir, the southernmost reservoir, on the current footprint of Bryant Park and the New York Public Library. It doesn't exist anymore. More examples of how the traffic going east-west through the park is mostly hidden from the park goers. Here, again, at the top of the hill, overlooking the reservoir, are the two buildings from Marathon Man. Highly recommend the movie if you get a chance to watch it. A screenplay by William Goldman about 5 years after he wrote the screenplay to Butch Cassidy and the Sundance Kid, which at the time set a record fee paid for a screenplay by a major Hollywood studio. Probably a minor Hollywood studio too. The buildings you're beginning to see in the distance are apartment towers lining Central Park West, which is the equivalent of 8th Avenue.
From 11 to 14.
11 and 14, okay.
Yeah.
So when they call you for something? What is it? What is it?
And we're at the West Drive, which is also known as Park Drive South. We're going to cross and exit. And just looking at the crossing signal, it only shows red and green, or I don't know, yeah, red and green. So it's the only vestige of what used to be the standard for traffic lights for all vehicles in New York City. It was just red and green, and unlike this one, which just changed instantly from green to red, when the two-color system existed on New York City streets, green and red simultaneously would be the same as today's yellow. The last red and green only traffic signal I saw in the city was around 1994 in the Rockaways. Change comes slowly in the Rockaways. Then here are vehicles descending into or emerging from the underpass under the park. This is the 96-97th Street transverse. don't think this part of the park is ADA compliant. And we're exiting at 97th Street and Central Park West.
I really, imagine people living in cities.
And go roam the street because she said she don't want me to feel like,
Okay. This is Central Park West, looking north, looking south. '96th Street on the B and the C. That's the 8th Avenue line, built in the early 30s. I said we're on 96th Street earlier. I was incorrect. This is 97th Street. We'll get back to 96th Street at the next intersection, which is Columbus Avenue, which is equivalent to 9th Avenue. New York street food. Typical New York street food. This is looking south on Columbus Avenue. Looking north. More to come. Drinking water sampling station. And garbage. And a sidewalk bridge that goes all the way to the next corner, which is Amsterdam Avenue. And then this tallest building here I don't know what that is. I've never seen it before. It seems to me it's gone up overnight. One of the many buildings that seem to have gone up overnight on various walks we've taken so far. Hopefully she's talking to someone on the phone. We are walking south just for one block on Amsterdam Avenue, the equivalent of 10th Avenue. So we can get back onto 96th Street. But first, let's see this bank, which looks like it was built in 1926. It's formerly a bank, but now it's a CVS. And now we are back on 96th Street. St. Francis Thrift Store. That's nice. Temper. Oh, this is new. Thing. Yep. So while we're waiting for the light, actually, let's cross. This is the final subway station we're going to encounter on this walk. 96th Street on the 1, 2, and 3. They expanded the station a few years ago and really simplified the pedestrian flow from the original 1904 design, which was awful. That's across Western Avenue. Western Avenue, looking north and south. I think this is the only place for the length of Riverside Drive where a major crosstown street passes under it. Well, I take that back. At 125th Street, Riverside Drive crosses way above 125th Street. How high is way above? I don't know. 3 stories? 30 feet. Should have caught this before. A not very spacious mobile station, so it certainly gets dark quickly around here. Let's take a last look at this most spacious mobile station. Anyway, don't know what this little piece of property is worth. Not much space to turn around there once you've pumped the gas. Anyway, that is going to conclude today's walk because it is getting dark. You can see the Riverside Drive passing overhead, and just beyond that, the West Side or Henry Hudson Parkway. But we are going to go back to the 96th Street stop on the 1, 2, and 3 and get on a train and return home somewhere. So thanks for spending this time walking 96th Street, nearly river to river. This is Infrared, and this is what you've been watching.